Hey there, self-care community. Hey, it's your girl Sharon. And so I got my hair shaved today. Oh, such a relief. And sometimes when it's growing out, I be trying to decide, oh, do I want it, to grow out? I don't know. I tell you, I am really liking this. And then when it does grow out, there's certain parts of it that I don't like. So I believe that part of my self care routine is to talk to my scalp a little bit more and the hair follicles so it can grow like I want to. And along with that, I like using Shanti oils on my scalp, on my skin. It's always such a lovely, lovely feeling. Oh, man. Mm. Yes, yes, yes. This is self-care too. And definitely go to shantyoils.store to purchase your hair skin oil. Believe me, you will not be disappointed. So, what I want to remind you of when it comes to self-care is self-care is not only is every aspect of yourself, it really is everywhere. It's every opportunity, every experience, every effort, even the things that you do, the things that you consciously don't do, don't say, that you decide, again, I said consciously, that you're deciding not to do it because it's in your best interest or it's in the best interest of your business. And believe me, you need to benefit it. Okay, I know, people, it's all about giving. Everything that you're doing, you are giving. And I know people say, oh, you should give, give from your heart. You're giving from your heart. You really are. But that's another story. I'm not going to get into that. But pretty much what I'm trying to say is, yes, you do give to your heart. Not that you're expecting anything from the thing, but you are expecting something. You're expecting it to pretty much manifest in a beautiful way. You're expecting it, you're expecting someone to benefit from it. You expect to benefit from it. Again, it may not be directly to the person, place, or thing where you're contributing or giving to, but you're expecting something. But the point that I'm making too is that when it comes to self-care, is you making a conscious decision that you are doing things for the betterment of you, your surroundings, your community, your family, your business, because this is something for the betterment of mankind. It's kind of like the conscious, collective of mankind. And yes, you should benefit from that too. Now, again, it doesn't mean you're going to benefit from it, again, from the people that you're directly giving to. None of this is a paid service because you should benefit from that, okay? Yes, you really do, because this is how you are being in servant. Okay, so with that comes along with where you are, I want to say self-care is where you are strategically making a decision to say, how is this going to benefit me? In what way? It may not be now, it may not be today. Because of the fact it includes in doing the hard stuff. It includes the challenges. And so with Self-Care U Academy, that's one of the things that we're doing. We're looking at challenges. We're looking at facing the parts of ourselves that may be hidden or that we may hide ourselves. And let me tell you, even if it's subconsciously, unconsciously hidden, meaning that you're not aware of it, it still comes back. That's not in our best interest. It's still inflow or explow. And so this is why we're doing those things. So it's where you're purposely being in community, being in areas, doing things that's going to be in the betterment of you. Does that make sense? And so it could be just by you watching this video and say, oh, well, let me see what Miss Self-Care is talking about, and making a plan on like, what did I take from this, and implementing it, or at least for a little bit. Sometimes you may need to marinate a little bit, and you put it in the back of your mind and say, okay, I'm going to get to it. But the best way to do that is to write that out. And believe me, this is something that I'm practicing and I am implementing myself, because I haven't always done that. Okay. And so self-care is doing the hard stuff. Self-care is the challenges. And the other thing is, again, when you're not focused, when you're just doing, and you're not focused on like the betterment of yourself, it can go to pieces. Believe me, I know. And even though you are a wonderful, fantastic person, what I have learned about myself, and I know I'm not the only one, I'm pretty sure you experience this too, is that, I need to make sure that I am pouring into myself. I need to make sure that I'm educating myself, having that great self-awareness, implementing things so that I can be the best version of myself, so that my business can explode, so that I can be a servant. Okay? And so this is how you share your gift, so that you are constantly being better. And so self-care is everywhere. I can remember several years ago, pretty much when, I guess you could say, the concept of self-care really hit me, and I started talking about it more, and I started making a little game out of it. And especially like things that I thought of myself, created myself, discovered myself. And also, if I may see a quote or a phrase or something that someone says, I'm like, oh yeah, that's self-care too. You know what I'm saying? So self-care can be, going, let me think. It could be like, if you don't normally drive in a certain area, and you do that, you're like, oh, I don't want to drive in that area because, or I don't want to go here by myself, or I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. The things that you don't do are the things that will be holding you back. Because on a side note, pretty much, again, everything that you're doing, you're constantly training yourself. So the things that you don't do, the things that you don't say, you're training your nervous system and even your mind to say, oh, wait a minute, is this danger? We need to pause here. What's going on here? I don't know if this is right or anything like that, something like that. No. We're not going to have that. Now, I will say, use discernment of when, because it doesn't mean you just go and jump into, everything that's uncomfortable or that's a challenge. But it's also training yourself when those opportunities come, because there are times you may need to jump in. You may need to, be spontaneous. You may need to do the things that you may not want to do. So the more that you are in practice of that, then your body, your mind, your spirit won't feel like that is hard. It won't feel like, that your mind is on fire. There's two types of fires. There's the danger fire. We don't want that, but then it's the fire that allows you to do things, And so self-care is every aspect of yourself. Just by me coming on here, spontaneous, in which this is my favorite thing to do, in talking to you. Now, the other thing is, again, self-care is planning, because when you plan things out, it allows you to not have all that extra pressure own you. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going at? This is what self-care is all about, is doing the things that, can make you better. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't feel like doing this. Because again, I don't have a problem in verbalizing anything. And when it comes to me writing, and I'm like, oh, I got to write something. But I am training myself to do that because I can speak it. If I can speak it, I can write it out, so remember that as well. And so for, if you are in need of like, hey, I need, to really focus on my self-care. I have these goals, whether it's personal or professional goals that you want to reach. Hey, go ahead and put into the comment consultation so that we can connect, so that you can have an abundance life, so that you can approach life in a way that that's going to benefit you. Because sometimes what I found out, because even for myself, most of the time you already know a lot of things, but the way that things work, sometimes we just need to hear somebody else say the thing that we already know. Is it for validation? Sometimes. Is it for affirmation? Sometimes. Is it for confirmation? Sometimes. But the majority of the time, I would say some of that is ego. I'm not going to say all of it. Some of it is kind of like that human connection thing. But a lot of it is just repetition, because that is just how the mind, the body, and the spirit works. The more we hear about something, we see things, we do things, it requires repetition. A good example is I require different type of coaching. In certain aspects, I need group coaching. In certain aspects, I need, individual coaching. In some aspects, even when it comes to the group coaching, there are different types of group coaching that I need. And so self-care is for you to figure out what kind of learning that you are, and then there's different levels of learning. Because and I'm going to say this too before I hop off, is that like I'm an audio and visual learner. I have always been that way. And even before I knew what all of this thing was, learning, like, oh yeah, these are the 4 types of learners, things like that. Even before I knew what it was, I want to say I was in middle school, is when I knew that I am a auditory and a visual learner. And I need to and by me saying this, and it's reminding me, oh yeah, I need to do it that way a little bit more. Whereas, again, it's like when I hear something, I have to paint a picture of it or have a snapshot of it in my mind. When I see something, I would need to whisper, that thing in my ear. And sometimes I may need to repeat something. So if anyone ever talked to me, and sometimes I may say, hey, let me just make sure that I'm understanding. I'm just repeating the way that I heard it, or I may repeat it the way that I need to retain the information. You heard what I just said, right? Sometimes you may need to repeat something, whether it's verbally, do that. Sometimes you may need to write it down, not verbatim, but in a way where you will understand the thing that what it is. I mean, if you need to write it down verbatim, but write it down in a way that you can understand and retain that information, because that is how you learn. That is how you keep that information. Because again, self-care is for me to make sure that I snap a picture in my mind of what I'm hearing. And again, if it's something that I'm seeing, that I need to whisper something in my ear so that I can retain the information. And again, in writing something down, again, in repeating when it comes to having conversations. This is just how the mind works. And so, it's almost like the standard of being a human, a standard of, we say that we're a God's vessel. Okay, so how much are you studying God's work of art yourself? So it means in learning every aspect of yourself. How do you learn? Doing the hard stuff. Being human is not easy, but we were put on this earth for something, so it is, should I say, very important, very necessary to be able to learn all of these things. And the healing portion of it is important, but the other things are too. And this is where the holistic piece of it comes in, so that you will know how to approach things. It's always evolving. And I'm going to give you something else too when it comes to learning about yourself, is being in the communities, but also learning if you have like a specific thing that you learn, let's say about money, learn it from different aspects. The mindset of money, the energy of money, literally how money works. And in saying that, I'm a financial professional as well. And one thing that I've had to do, I'm like, yeah, I read that book. They're talking about it. I read it. I listened to the audio, and I'm like, I'm going to have to listen to it again. I'm going to have to highlight it. And more than likely, I would need to write something out, because at the time, it was brand new. And so when something new, it was something that's foreign, we do not hold on to that information, especially when you don't have an interest in it at first, even if you do want to learn. So this is where the repetition comes into play. Even when you hear someone, sometimes I hear people say, oh, well, they, taught the same, mastermind. Believe me, you need it. It's just like reading a book or watching a movie, or even listening to a song. You can hear it 10 times, but a lot of times, each time you hear it, you either hear something different, or you perceive it different, or you learn something completely new, or you see it in a different way. It can be, you hear it and you see it, but you're like, wow, because I know that has happened to me as well. It's like I may have attended certain things or hear people, like on social media, on YouTube, podcasts, and different things of that sort. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard this before. And sometimes somebody can say one word, one phrase, and allow me to have an insight or a revelation, even though I may have heard it several times before, or at least, that could be my second time. So self-care, again, putting in the work. You just heard me talk about repetition. You just heard me talk about, doing something that you don't want to do. You just heard me talk about, doing the hard stuff, the challenges. And this is what it takes of being a human. This is what it takes to uplift yourself, to up level, to be at your full potential. But self-care also requires rest, to restore, to rejuvenate. So make sure you remember that piece. It's not about balance, but again, it's about these self-care acts that you purposely put in place. And sometimes it could be spontaneous too, because those are the best ones sometimes. So you can be the best version of yourself. So again, let's connect so that we can put you on track. Or you may just say, hey, I know what I need, but I just need to hear it from somebody else as well. Because we need that. Because again, I have, I pay for certain things that helps me, to keep things as what in marketing, what they call it, top of mind, and like for me, business is new for me. So I need to keep things on top of mind so I can make sure I stay on track and focus. So again, self-care is everywhere. So embrace all of the opportunities when it comes to your, your life, your business, so that you can be the best version of yourself, because you are the one who can only do it. So I will be glad to see you as you schedule your consult. So put consult in the comments so that we can connect, so you can be the best version of yourself.